costs. So when we look at the direct cost, we have the cost of the material and the cost of labor. So labor is already given. It is 800 plus 600. The cost of the material is given. We have that a kg of a material is bought at 50 shillings. So the total material of what is bought is the total kg of the material bought is equated with the total kg of the material produced. So the total kg of the material bought before processing is 125 because it is 25 pieces times 5 kg, which each piece is 5 kg. So the 25 pieces will give a total of 125 kilograms. So after doing that, so you already have the total amount of kilograms of the material that is bought. And you are told that the material costs 50 shillings per kg. So when you multiply, you get 6,250. Now, adding the two costs, which is the material cost and the labor cost, it gives you the total direct cost. And then they go down and say that 120% is deducted for other costs, like now the management, administrations. Those are now the indirect costs. I hope you people really understood what we talked about, the difference between direct cost and indirect cost. So those other costs like administration, management, and so forth and so on, and the factory management, and even the cost of or even renting the factory space and what have you, those are called direct costs. So it is calculated 120% on the direct cost. So the direct cost we already got from the addition of the material cost and the labor cost, which came to 7,650. So when we get 120% of it, so we're going to get 9,100. That is now the cost of the indirect cost per kg. That is, we are talking about a kg. The total number of kg, sorry, that is per day. So that the total cost per day is the total direct cost plus the total indirect cost, which is giving us 16,830 shillings. That is for all the kilograms that are produced in that day. So we come now to our question and ask, now each rod is 5 kg, and each rod we want to know the cost per rod. And now we know that the total cost per 125 kg, that is the total kilograms that are produced, is equals to 16,830. So now what about 5 kg, which is equated to one rod? So when you do that math, you will realize that each rod has a unit cost of 673 shillings. So that is how you calculate. You know, the rest is mathematics. The only thing you need to know is to identify, are you able to differentiate between the direct cost and the indirect cost? And I told you that when these NEC examinations are being set, they normally don't take you directly. They normally don't give you a direct question. They want to test your brain to see if you actually understand what you are learning. I think I'm clear, Salad.
Yes, but najua ukiniambia hivyo kwa nini sasa nataka hata ni theory.
Your calculation inafanana na theory?
Hapana, nasema vile sasa unaniambia hivyo kwa mdomo, sitashika la mpaka nione hivyo.
Hautashika kabisa. So hiyo picha nitapiga niwatumie kwa WhatsApp.
Tuna float.
Gasharu, kwa nini una float?
Sielewi.
Muliona hiyo swali?
Swali niliona.
Muliona hiyo swali?
Lakini unajua hiyo ni hesabu. Lazima sasa tufunze kama venye tunafunza normal mathematics.
So because siwezi ninatumia my phone, I'm using my phone. Ninatumia my phone, I'm using my phone. Currently, so Thomas, just mute your mic. You will hear what we are saying. Thomas, just mute your mic. Good. Utasikia tu Kenya tunaongea. It's only that you have an echo from your side.
I was saying.
Kenya tunaongea. It's only that you have an echo from your side.
Okay, madam. And so utatuma WhatsApp?
Hiyo echo ni ya nini? I hope imeisha. Thomas? Thomas? Imeisha? Thomas has problems. Gasharu, I hope imeisha. Thomas?
Yes, I'm muting.
Good. Now I can proceed. Gasharu, I was saying this, that this calculation, I'm going to post it. I'm going to take a picture of it and post it on WhatsApp. Yes?
Madam.
Yes.
Unajua hiyo swali iko na how many marks?
Eh.
10 marks. So si
I know.
calculation. Si calculation kidogo kidogo.
Sasa unaiheshimu sana.
Naheshimu vizuri.
Sawa, I've already done the calculation for you. Na hata wakati tutakuwa tunafanya work study, we will also meet some calculations that are related to it. It's only that walikuwa wana connect between the calculations zinapatikana kwa work study na procurement. Sawa.
Ya work study pia.
Ya work study iko ni vile hatujasoma, lakini I know there are several calculations. That's why niliavoid hiyo topic ya work study. Mkiangalia niliruka because of the calculations, because hizi vitu zinataka face to face.
Okay.
Mnaona?
Hello?
Yes, are you getting me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sawa. Sasa si tunaweza endelea. Alafu watu wenye hawa participate kwa hiyo discussion, you guys are doing injustice to yourself. It is very good to participate in those discussions because they are important. So we go to the last bit because we need to finish. The last bit was on tendering. Sasa kila mtu ananipata, I hope so. So it is tendering. Now, tendering, we had talked about an introduction of the tendering. So we mute our mics so that we proceed. An introduction on tendering we had done in the last semester. And now what this unit wanted you to know is the process of tendering, the tendering process. You've already known how you can lay out your company. You've known how you can purchase things. You've known how you can start a contract. You've known how you can even plan your company. You can even do the procurement. You've known a lot of things. We have learned a lot of things since we started. And now we want to know how to do the tendering process. Now that I've already made my company, I've laid out my company, the company has started, I have the workers, I have everything. Now I need to get tenders so that I can do work. Now the tendering process, it is the purchasing procedure whereby potential suppliers are invited to make a firm and equivalent offer of price and terms on which they will supply the goods and services which once accepted shall lead to subsequent contract. We said that a tendering process normally leads to a contract. So the end part of the tendering process is a contract. It does things that go sequentially. So the tendering process involves the choice of suitable suppliers of the required materials. It involves getting information through various possible sources of supply so as to make it easier analyzing the shortcomings and disadvantages sources before one is chosen to be the supplier. So the process involves a panel, qualified evaluation, and analysis, each and every fronted source and suppliers available. So the panel designs the tender forms and attracts potential suppliers through the invitation for the bid. The bid can be applied at a fee or for free, and forms should enable the team to get the necessary information on the abilities and inabilities of those who have applied. So the application comprises of documents approved for the ability to honor the contract and the quotation, which is majority of the value of what has to be supplied by the application of the tender. So the tendering process must be well done as per the laws of the country. In the Kenya process, the purchasing through the tender is governed by the Public Procurement and Oversight Authority. So we have said that tendering process is just the process that people have to go through, or a company has to go through, in order to be able to get a contract or to give a contract to someone. It is an either way process. So purchasing team has the final word on which to be chosen as the supplier. This is after considered issues such as the cost of the material have been taken place, reliability of the supplier, the quality of the expected supplier, and the general image of the supplier. Those are some of the things that have to be involved. So now the methods of tendering. What are the methods of tendering? We have different methods, like now selective tendering. It is an expression of interest placed in major metropolitan newspapers local newspapers, and rural projects inviting tenders to register their interest in the tendering of the project. So the public tenders is the invitation is advertised in the press, and the contractors are asked to apply for the tender documents. The applications are then issued with the tender documents. Tendering by invitation, a number of contractors are selected from a list of qualified contractors. So they are then approved having regard to the acceptability that they are then invited to tender for the project of the tender documents issued to them in the normal manner. So those are now the types of tenders. We have said tender, the methods of tendering. We are now selective tendering, where you select as people with a specific interest, and then you post it now on the newspaper. These are normally used by. Then we have public tenders, invitation to advertise, then tendering by invitation. You advertise, you invite a specific group of people. So the types of tenders is what we're going to do. The types of tenders. What are the types of tenders that we have? We have open tenders. These are prospective suppliers are invited to compete for a contract advertised in the press or the internet. The lowest tender generally being accepted, although they are not bound to accept any of the lowest tenders. Restricted tenders. Restricted tenders, the prospective suppliers are invited to compete for the contract. Advertising is restricted to appropriate newspapers. The pre-qualification questionnaire is filled, and only the shortlisted are invited to tender. So that is called a restricted tender. A negotiated tender. What is a negotiated tender? The tender initiatives to maintain higher performance levels, that is similar to restricted and has qualification stage. It allows the council to negotiate on the contract within the strict guidelines prior to the awarding of the contract. So this is used when the supplier is the sole source of the product in urgency, and when the precise specification can only be determined by the seller. Another type of tender is the competitive dialogue. It is used in particular complex contracts where open and restricted procedures will not allow the award of the contract. So the suppliers respond by submitting an expression of interest by completing the questionnaire. Other types of tender is a serial tender. What is a serial tender? An e-serial tender is a prospective supplier requested on either open or selective basis for an initial scheme on the basis that the subject to satisfactory performance and an overseen financial contingencies, a program of work will be given for success rates and prices. Now, advantages of tendering or tenders. Contracts are given. Somebody is writing something. Salad, just unmute your mic.
Yes.
Yes, it has a similarity because it's a requirement that you need. When you look at your course outline, they need you to know the tendering process. And there's no way you can go straight to the tendering process without identifying the types of tenders and those. It is almost similar. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. And then we go to advantages. Now, are given initiatives to maintain the high performance levels, saving in cost and time by eliminating the contract negotiation for each stage of the program. So the team of employees and plans can move to successive jobs without interruptions. Supplier security of contracts should enable the purchaser to negotiate low prices. So another thing is now stages of the tendering process. We need to know the tendering process. What are the stages, or what do we need to go through? The first thing is, and very important one, is preparing a plan document, a procurement document. And we have talked about procurement. We said that procurement is the plan to buy or to purchase things. So you plan the document that shows the items that will be required in a particular user, and therefore the items will be procured by the procurement entity. So the plan shows that what will be procured and when to meet what needs a procurement plan shows materials required and derived from that. Now, preparation of specifications. A specification is simply a defined description of what is needed or wanted for use by the user. So the user must approve specifications. Specification takes many forms, like some of which are discouraged by public prosecution. This is the normal tendering process that we know. We start by preparing a procurement plan and then prepare the specification. After preparing the specification, then we move ahead and do the preparation of the tender documents. We said tender documents are so many, and we even talked about the tender documents. I think we talked about them in estimation and tendering. We talked about the tender documents that we need. So they are very important there. And then advertising and sale of tender documents. That is another step after now preparing the tender documents. We advertise. What are the means of advertising? We do use newspapers. We can even use radio. We can use all the other media, even posters to advertise the tenders. Another one is preparation and submission and opening of tender documents. That one is done after the tenderers have already submitted the tender documents. The next one is evaluation of the tenders. Evaluation of the tenders is done by the tender committee, where they collect all the tenders documents that have been submitted, and then they look at the qualification and see which tenderer has met the qualifications or the specifications that has been laid down. The next step is the contract award. Now a tender, the evaluation has been done. They have already identified the person who best fits the specification that they already put down. Now the award is given. Somebody is given. So the secretary of the tender committee should prepare all the required documentation. Now the agenda for each procurement item should be prepared after proper analysis of the bids. So the secretary should prepare the price comparison schedule or analysis. Then the contract preparation. How do you do the contract preparation? So the first is of the to prepare is the tender committee to make a decision to whom to award the contract. Now they want to award the contract, so they're preparing the document. So awards by tender committee shall be final and bidding unless successfully appealed against or prohibited by an authorized person. Another one is the signing of a contract. After the contract award of the tender committee, the manager ensures that the contract is prepared and be signed by the two parties of the contract. Another one now, I think should be the last one, is the tender performance of the contract. Now, performance of the contract is another process of a contract or procedure of a contract where we have to track and make sure that the contract is done according to what is in the specification. The advantages are there. I would like you to go and read them because you already have these notes. The advantages of the tendering. We have now the tender is unsuitable for certain contracts. That is the disadvantages. The contractor may quote a price that is too low, leading to subsequent dispute when the goods and services are being supplied. Another disadvantage is the open tendering may be expensive, hence selective tendering are preferred. So those are some of that is the last slide that I wanted us to discuss, so that we can now go to the next topic next week on marketing section 2. So can I hear questions?
Hello.
Yes, Thomas.
Yes, I am asking. Yes, madam.
Yes.
Hello. I was asking, are the past weeks the recordings are they there?
That
I
is,
can access them.